everybody is experienced today?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's a very, very different things that we did in the past. So it's the very first time that we asked here a business case which is related to street food, which is, as you know, a trend which is actually very, very famous now. And so we decided to introduce in this program also a business case which is related to street food, which is actually very, very important for Italian culture, especially in the Mediterranean regions. So we have here Nino. Nino el Ballerino is our guest today. We will discuss the business model that actually Nino created in Palermo, because he prepares one of the most famous dish for the Palermo culture. We have here also Eugenio Tomasino, Mr. Tomasino, who follows Nino in his business, in his experience. So the schedule for today is this one. We have here Daniel, who is, as you know, very passionate about street food. And he knew Nino also before we started to talk about him in class. So Daniel will present the history, actually, and the main pillars that characterizes the experience of Nino. Then we will have a discussion about the key success factors that you perceive behind the success of this experience. And I think also the core discussion will be also related to the future of this company, because they are wondering about the future of the company. They are wondering which will be the next step, in the growth strategy. So it will be very, very important to collect your feedback about it. Then we will go all together to the Art Food. Art Food is the space in Röntgen building where we will actually assist to the preparation of this food. So Daniel will tell us something about this panino con la mezza, which is the dish that we will taste. And of course we will taste at the end, okay? So it's a very strange thing that it's the first time that in Bocconi we did something like this, I think. So we are very, very happy. Thank you very much for coming. And so Daniela, I leave this stage.
Okay, perfect. Okay guys, so I'm just going to keep it short just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. And it's an extreme pleasure for me to do this presentation about one of my favorite artisans, street food artisans in Palermo. His name is Antonino Buffa, and he's better known as Nino Ballerino. Okay, so there are 5 places globally for street food. There are 5 top places for street food, according to Forbes. Can anyone guess what they are? Cities, places that are especially known throughout the world for street food? Singapore, yes. Thailand.
Mexico.
No. Okay, so we do have Thailand. The second one is Singapore. The third is in Malaysia. The fourth is in Morocco, and number 5 is the only one in Europe, is Palermo. I don't know, maybe some of you guys didn't have the idea, but Palermo really is like a mecca for street food. It's a street food wonderland. There's so many wonderful things to eat on the streets of Palermo, as our Sicilian friend Cinzia surely knows. Okay, so there's Palermo, in case any of you guys didn't know, weren't sure where it is. It's the capital of Sicily. Okay, so the concept that we're talking about today is a traditional focacceria. It's a business that's been built by Mr. Buffa. And this is what it looks like outside of his focacceria, and inside. So it's a relatively small place. The menu has a few different parts. It has typical rosticceria of Palermo. His signature sandwich is the panino con la milza, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But then he also has arancina, pennelle, which is like fried chickpea fritters, and sfincione. These are typical, like, kind of fried and just things you eat on the go in Palermo. But then he also has a whole section of like pastas. This is pasta con le sarde, a very typical Sicilian pasta. And then he also has breakfast, and he also has a private label wine that he serves at his bar. So it's really like a morning to night place where you can go to eat typical Palermitan and Sicilian things. Okay, so his signature product is in Italian pane con la milza and in Sicilian pane con milza. And it is a sandwich that's composed of offal. Are you guys familiar with that term?
Yeah.
O-F-F-A-L. In Italian, I think it's scarti. It's the
scraps.
Scraps, the things that you don't normally eat from an animal, from a cow, specifically from a cow. So they're the less desired things, but using them is a super sustainable way to make food. They're actually also parts of the animal that are really low in fat, like the cartilage. They're on their own, they're very healthy, and it's also the part that usually gets thrown away, which makes it using it sustainable. And in Palermo, this sandwich is typical. Okay, so now I'm going to just quickly show you a video just so you have a better understanding of how it works, the sandwich. I'm not going to use any volume because it's not necessary. So this is caciocavallo cheese. Lemon is very important. This is the roll, the milza. So this is how he does it. It's fried in like pork fat. The lemon. And this is a typical Sicilian cheese. Okay, there you go. So, getting into the history of his business, it's a very long-standing family business in Palermo, and it is from 1802, started by his like great-great-great-great-grandfather, and at that time they were only doing that sandwich. That was their only product, and it was all done on a cart, in a cart outside. There was not a brick-and-mortar shop, and a core part of their business was leaving Palermo, going to the provinces of Palermo, and like supplying this specialty food during a lot of the village festivals, events, stuff like that. So that's how the business was done for about 3 generations, and that's Nino as a child. So Nino kind of changed the game a little bit for his family. He when he was very young, started watching his grandfather, and it wasn't that his grandfather taught him. Nino was stealing the secrets from his grandfather. His grandfather was super reluctant to share his secrets, but Nino was very passionate about it, even as a very young child. And since he was young, he also was saying to his family, I would really like to open a shop. I'd like to, have a place where we could sell that it doesn't move, it's just the brick and mortar shop. And his family always laughed at him for this idea because they didn't think it was possible. But about 27 years of him working on the cart, he finally opened his own shop, and not just pane con la milza, but also a whole gastronomic selection like we saw a little while ago. And in 2002 was kind of like a moment for him when he realized, my business is a success, I'm doing so well, and he kind of like declared victory with his family, who was always skeptical of him. And his family, very large family, like 20-something people, continues to be a very, very important part of his business. Okay, so this is where I get into what I'm kind of identifying as the critical success factors, a list of things that combined make his business very difficult to replicate. So, Angela, do you think the best thing for me is to just start going down?
Yeah, then we discuss.
Okay, then we'll discuss. Perfect. So the first thing is the location. He has a stellar location next to Capo Market, which is the oldest market in Palermo. The next one is that it's all very traditional, authentic products that you find on the streets of Palermo. It's like all of the street foods are represented there. It's a real destination, and he's really committed to Sicilian culture. He's using very high quality raw materials, and that's important to distinguish. A lot of what he does is work on the sourcing of the ingredients and also the way that they're prepared before they finally get put into that pork fat we saw, because there's a whole preparation process that goes on before it gets fried in that typical big metal basin. He is open all the time. I mean, and he's always there. This man works very, very hard. So from morning to night, you can have your morning coffee and your late night snack at Nino Ballerino. Another thing that I thought was really important was obviously the long-standing family reputation. His name is, one of the oldest things in Palermo, and his family name, and everybody knows him. He has a very, very loyal customer base. I think that Cinzia might be one of his #1 customers whenever she is in Palermo. And it's slowly and slowly becoming a tourist destination. There's a TripAdvisor page. There are a lot of these videos that have a lot of watches. TripAdvisor comments in English also, and people are starting to know that that's somewhere they have to go when they go to Palermo. Also, it's centrally located. It's not very far from what's considered the center of the city, so it's very easy for tourists to get to his place. But I personally think the biggest success factor is Nino himself. He's an incredible person, and he's kind of becoming a street food hero. He's very community focused. He's very open, and it also has to do with his extremely unique charisma. So, with that, that's the end of my little presentation. So now, I'm sure Angela, you're going to lead the discussion.
Yeah, so I think so. The first thing is, so we discussed a little bit about the key success factors. Do you think these are the only ones that you can find in experience, or do you think there's something else that we can? We do not talk only about key success factors. Let's talk about the main topics that you think are behind this experience. What do you think about it?
I think like any street food, it's the combination of what was listed before, because any one of them, or 2 or 3 of them, any other business can have, but the right combination of like the success factors leads to a unique product which sells really well.
Okay, so do you mean that actually the competitive advantages in